Call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Chris, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Harlow?
Here.
Mr. Heather?
Here.
Mr. Engel?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everybody's received a copy of the meeting minutes from June 26th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, Chris, can we call for the vote? Motion passes 5-0. You also have the meeting minutes from the July 10th board meeting. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0. And at this time, Michael, do you have a legislative update?
I do not.
Okay. Jim, I think it's your meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, Butler Tech, our meeting is tomorrow. And I did, went up to the old Americana that Butler Tech purchased. And that's going to be really nice once we get that rehab for our adult ed up there. It's really nice. Two great big buildings that we're going to utilize. So, yeah, it's going to be good.
Okay, we'll move into, we have any reports for certificated or licensed employees, classified, school-related organizations. I do have a request for one community comment from Rich McVeigh regarding TIF.
Good evening, board.
Hello.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I was here about over a week ago, I think it was, in the morning, and I would guess by now you've probably received from the township their extended TIF for the Coleraine Town Center, and things are changing really fast, aren't they? I mean, 30 days ago we were talking about a 30-year TIF, and we'd hired a guy from Claremont County to come in and paid him lots of money to put things together, and had spreadsheets and amortization plans and a whole bunch of stuff that said this was what was going to happen. And we had this letter from Mr. Mills on June 15th where he said he was going to hold the school harmless and all this kind of stuff. And now I guess we really don't know what we have. At least I don't. And under Ohio law, I've asked the township to supply me with whatever documentation that they have to support the extended TIF. You know, when you have a TIF, you have to have an agreement with the body. So in this case, Rumpke or their attorneys probably have some sort of agreement with the township that said this is the infrastructure we're going to, install, and this is kind of what it's going to cost, and that kind of stuff, because that's the purpose of this, in their eyes, to use the tax dollars that you normally would get to accelerate their development. So I've not received anything, and I don't know if you've received anything, but things are happening pretty quickly. I also don't know that this TIF was originally originated in 1990, and I don't know if the treasurer has a copy of the original agreement or not. I've been trying to get a hold of it. I have the resolution, so I don't know if we don't have an agreement. I don't know what's in it. It's really kind of amazing that we lack the documentation and we're moving so quickly. And you know what? I don't know why, quite frankly, the board of trustees, given that they kind of changed some direction here, why they needed to start the clock, on the 14 days without having some time to talk with you guys about here's what's going down, here's how it's going to impact you. They just rang the bell and sent it your way, and I think that's unfortunate, and it's, in my eyes, it's not in good faith.
Well, hold on a second, because didn't they pass a law in the state of Ohio that by September 29th, you do not have to negotiate with the school district. If you continue a TIF and add on to a TIF, that if you don't do it by September 29th, if you do it afterwards, then you have to negotiate with the school district. And that's, in my opinion, that's an easy way out to cut us out of the whole picture and cost us millions of dollars for educating our kids in our district over the next 15 years.
I think we'll go ahead and let Rich talk
No, I
since this is
just-
community
okay.
comments.
That's-
We are
that's-
going to discuss this, believe
Thank
me,
you.
later on in the meeting. And I know Amy can,
I know,
explain
I
it all
just
to
wanted
us.
to
Right.
ask the question.
I think there's a lot of frustrated people up here, so we'll try
Right.
to do the meeting the correct way, but I'm not going to bite my tongue.
I think I lost the mic here. I've been told those things by your treasurer. Okay,
Right.
I'm not an attorney.
Sure.
I hope you're talking with your attorneys so that they can. All I have is I think the same documents you have, which are the 1990 resolution that talks about which parcels are going to be exempt, and I don't have much more than that, and that's why I'm asking for it to see what we have, and I don't want to repeat it. I do think that it's important for both the residents and the school board to be clear about what this thing entails, quite frankly. And to my knowledge, I don't think that's currently in the public record. You know, it may be available. I've asked for it to be an open records request, but I haven't not yet received it. I don't know. I know you're talking to your lawyers. I think until the school district understands what the notice and agreement applies, that action on the part of the school board seems to be unwarranted this evening. Without knowing what you're talking about, taking some action to that end, if I was in the position of doing this, I wouldn't make a motion to do anything about it because I think you have some time. I would take time to understand what's at risk here. Because you do have a clock with 14 days and it's only 7 days into it, and if you had to call a special meeting to do something, then you could always do that. You guys know how to do that if you have to do it. So it just seems to me that, I mean, I don't want to piggyback too much on what Mr. Detzel said, but there are millions of dollars at risk, and the scope seems to be changing. I mean, I was informed that Rumpke had, this was in response, I'm not patting myself on the back, but they didn't like the letter I put in the Cincinnati.com, and they hired their attorneys to draft something to send it to the Board of Trustees, and in that they were talking about a $20 million headquarters, not a $15 million headquarters, so maybe it is a $20 million. If it is, I would applaud it. That's great. I'd applaud everything they put there, because that would be good. I just think that using taxpayer dollars to fund those improvements, and I know Rumpke has the money to do it. So I would just say, if you don't have to take any action, Mr. Superintendent, tonight, that until you get more data, that you just kind of mull it around a little bit and talk with your attorneys and say, what is our course of action. I do think that a couple of things. This letter from the assistant administrator, Mr. Mills, where he says holding you harmless I think is an important piece of paper, at least around the intent. And in the original, I'm not a lawyer, but in the resolution, it says that properties are exempt from taxes, but it doesn't say they're 100% exempt or 20% exempt. I'm not an attorney, but I think I would kick that around a little bit. Thank you, and good luck with this, because I know it's important, and I know you care. And as I said last time, the township needs to know, and I have told them, that not only does the township need the funds, but the school district needs the funds to balance its budget too in the out years. And without doing that, we're going to have to make some cuts that we would not like to make and are going to impact our students. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move right into fiscal.
There we go. The first item is a fiscal item. It is financial reports of the treasurer, June 2017. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding the financial reports? Okay, Chris. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is a certificated licensed personnel item. It is certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item, then and now certificates over $3,000. Superintendent Treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the payments over $3,000 requiring a then and now certificate as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding the then and now certificate? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is federal and state grants for fiscal year 18. Accept and appropriate federal and state grants for fiscal year 18. The Superintendent Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve to accept and appropriate federal and state grants for fiscal year 18 as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding the federal?
Yeah, I got a question. Todd, like this amount of money under Title I, does that go up every year, or is this come down, or is it?
Changes, and it's basically based upon our free and reduced count, so it fluctuates every year.
Okay,
And some schools have more Title I needs than others.
gotcha, okay.
Anyone else? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a final amended certificate of estimated resources. Accept the final amended certificate of estimated resources for $248,616,416.43 as approved by the Hamilton County Budget Commission. Superintendent Treasurer recommend the Board of Education accept the final amended certificate of estimated resources as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding this amended certificate? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a general business item. It is grant of easement for the installation and future access for maintenance of new utilities at Colerain High School. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education grant the easement to Duke Energy authorizing access for the installation and future maintenance of the new electrical service as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding the easement? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is vendor contracts in compliance with ORC 3313.33. Attached is a list of vendor contracts requiring board approval. Superintendent Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions regarding vendor contracts? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is certificated licensed personnel items. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding certificated licensed personnel items? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel items. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions regarding classified personnel items? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a curriculum and instruction. It is an out-of-state and extended field trip request. The Colerain High School Band is requesting permission to take 100 students to band camp at Camp Higher Ground in West Harrison, Indiana from July 28th through August 2nd. No school will be missed. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the out-of-state and extended field trip as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is student services. It is also an extended athletic field trip. Northwest High School cross-country team is requesting permission to travel to Dover, Ohio to compete against another Northwest High School in a friendly rivalry at a classic invitational. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the extended athletic field trip as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? They're not blue and gold too, are they?
I believe they are.
I think so. I think I had friends in college once at high school.
Brett Van Gasbread graduated
What's
from
their
there.
mascot?
Knights.
Seriously?
I'm pretty sure it is. Because Brett brought his high school attire.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wow. Okay, Chris?
Chance of that.
Gosh, we can't even say go Knights. Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is student services. It is our 2017-2018 district handbooks for elementary. The last two 2017-2018 elementary student handbooks are being presented as items for information to be considered for approval at the next board meeting. As usual, if you have questions about either one, please let me know. They're for information tonight. The next item is a miscellaneous item. It is Neola Board Policy Revision. You can see them on board docs, as you always can. You have access to them to pull up and look at anything that's going there. Again, they are being presented as information for tonight. All right, next is my update, and it should be Amy and Todd's update. It addresses the TIF. I thought Amy did an excellent job in her weekly update to you, trying to outline what's going on. I will talk what our plan of action is, and then Amy can get into the specifics. Right now there is confusion, and I don't know if it's misunderstanding or lack of information being shared. When we originally started with any TIF that comes to us, our job and Amy's job and Chris is to dig into it and see what does this TIF and how does it affect our district. It took us a while to get you any information because the questions that Amy would ask with her expertise, we weren't getting the answers that I feel Amy needed. I think there became frustration on their end, and this is just me speaking. I can't put words in anybody's mouth, but when they couldn't answer the legitimate questions she had, the frustration took over. And as she outlined, we were ready on June 26th to put the original version of 10 years at 75% and make it 30 years and make it whole for us. Then basically the Friday before that afternoon, the board meeting on 26, we were told to pull it away. There is too much confusion or too many things to go over on our end. Since then, I want to do two things, and I'm going to do my best to do them this week so we can get you more information. One, I need to meet with Jeff and Dan. I need to really find out what's going on. The problem is Dan is on vacation this week, so we're going to meet with Jeff. I'd also like to have a sit down with Rumpke because we are very appreciative of the partnership we have with Rumpke. So I don't know what miscommunication's out there. We've heard rumors that the district is being accused of stomping their feet toward this TIF, and the district's doing no such thing. We just want information so we can properly inform you, who are the policymakers for our district, and we don't feel like we can. Amy, anything you want to add?
No, and the questions were the make whole provision. Because at first, it was, if you remember when we had the Kroger TIF, what we were made whole of was the current value. With this TIF with Rumpke, the make whole provision was to make us whole of what the value would be once the building is built, and then continue to be made whole over 30 years as the rest of the industrial park gets developed. So we were wanting to make sure in writing that that's what it said, because we kept being told we would be made whole, but they would never tell us at what value we would be made whole. That's the question that just kept going back and forth. Are we going to be made whole, and made whole as to what value? So as Todd just summarized, we were ready. I presented that to you in an update for the June 26th board meeting. Here's all the information that I found out. They're requesting that we support a 30-year TIF and keep us whole as a district, which would be about $6 million over 30 years for the original headquarters buildings for Rumpke, and plus additional as the rest of the industrial park was developed. Then on the 23rd, we kept asking, we were supposed to get the document to put on the agenda. The 23rd, they asked us to pull it because they were not ready. We've heard nothing since then until we received the letter that they are intent to extend a 1990 TIF. In 1994 was the first time school districts were eligible to negotiate to have compensation out of TIFs. Prior to 1994, schools could not receive any compensation. Their intention is to extend a 1990 TIF, which means we've received no compensation on the current TIF, which expires in 2020, and we would receive no compensation if they extend the TIF for an additional 15 years out to 2035. However, the law did currently change. House Bill 49 that just passed in June kind of changed this requirement, which gives school districts the ability to negotiate compensation for TIFs prior to 1994, which would include this TIF. Unfortunately, the House Bill in 49, which is the budget bill, doesn't go into effect until September 29th. So if they do this prior to September 29th, and their next township meeting is August the 8th, and they haven't told us when they intend to pass it, it's just their next one is the 8th of August, and if they pass it then, that would be prior to September 29th, and we would not be able to negotiate any compensation at all.
Even though they had already told us verbally they were going to hold us harmless.
Well, they told us they would hold us harmless on a 30-year TIF. This is an extension of a different TIF. It's two different TIFs. They've given us no information on the 1990 TIF except for they're extending it, and I've not been able to locate an original.
My understanding is that 1990 TIF was never actually executed for some reason.
And how do you extend a TIF that's not
I don't know, the board passed it, but I don't think it went down any kind of, I don't think anybody collected any money from it.
When did you find that
Not.
out?
I found out about the 1990 TIF Tuesday. And so,
It is hard not to feel like this is being rushed through so that they can take advantage of this unvoted by September, whatever the date you said.
29th.
29th.
Why all of a sudden now it's a rush on their end? They found a way to do this and leave us in the lurch. And it's also very frustrating. I know Greg Insko reached out, I believe, to all board members initially, wanting to know. He is the only one, as far as I'm concerned, that has reached out to me through an email wanting to know, is this something that the school district wants to do? And at that time, we didn't even know what he was talking about. Immediately called you and understood that it was still, everything was going back and forth, so you weren't out of position to let us know yet because they couldn't answer all the questions. So I don't know if, I'm not going to speak for what Greg thinks now. I'm shocked that at their meeting, you know, we don't even find out, they don't even give us a heads up. We're supposed to always be working on this partnership that they never seem to work on until it's something they need from us, that now all of a sudden we have to wait. I mean, I understand Michael knew on Tuesday, but not until we got the letter. And then I read the resolution they voted on. They voted on a resolution for their recorder, right, to send it. It isn't even sent from her. It's sent from Jeff. So they didn't even follow their own resolution that they voted on. It came from Jeff Mills, not from Heather Harlow.
Should have went to Amy instead of me.
Yeah.
It should have gone to Amy instead of Todd. It's kind of hard not to assume if the trustees know what they're doing. And then the dates are all different. There's a date dated July 12th, which is the morning after their meeting. We didn't get it till the 17th, which seems kind of odd. And then somewhere in here, I think, wasn't there a date of
July 14th. Yeah.
July 14th.
Yeah, which
So,
is not.
Which is an email.
which is an email.
Todd
So,
received an email.
you know, I didn't want to set a precedence of when we had community comments to have a dialogue back and forth because we typically don't do that. But at this point now, I think it's very important that every board member, I know Amy sent it out to all of us. I think she only heard back maybe from one or two. I think every board member needs to, it would be nice to hear where everybody stands because this is frustrating. We've worked very, very hard to build these schools, to get levies passed that we can look our taxpayers in the eye and say, we are trying to be fiscally responsible. We're going to go with this levy knowing it's not enough money so that we can not only keep your taxes the same, we can lower them. Only for the trustees, if they do this, we're going to lose an additional $3 million on to what the state budget just did to us. how are we supposed to recover from that? And we have no control over it at all, but we're supposed to work hand in hand with our trustees because they care about our schools. I guess you can see where I stand. And they never once came. Never once can we get somebody from the township to come to speak to us.
Well, yeah, I'll just chime in here too. We have, when the Kroger TIF went through, we had representatives from the township. At least one township trustee came. I don't think he spoke, but at least he came. The township administrator at the time presented, Kroger presented, the developer presented. You know, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask them to come back, you know, for Rumpke and for the township, if, you know, a trustee could, you know, obviously these are public meetings, anybody can come, for a trustee, come to a meeting, speak to us, not even speak to us, have the administrator speak to us, have the assistant administrator speak to us. Explain, lay this out, timeline, start with the 1990 TIF that's somewhere out there. Start with everything and walk through how we can be made whole. To what extent do they want us to be made whole? Because it isn't even just what the township decides, because, you know, Rumpke's a stakeholder in this. They're a property owner. We have over twice as much per dollar valuation at risk as the township does in terms of property tax revenue. I just double checked my own tax bill, and the ratio, I can't do the math in my head. It's why I was not a business major, but it is over twice as much that we receive, you know, per dollar valuation than the township does. So for every dollar that they have at stake in a TIF, we have probably about 2 1/4. So I don't think it's unreasonable to get a more thorough explanation from the township. And, you know, the way things stand today, I don't see how we could support the TIF. But
And that's what we're trying to find out.
yeah,
We don't get a say.
It doesn't sound like we
And
get us.
are they willing to even seek our opinion? So I will spend the next 3 days banging on doors and going down to visit, see if Amy and I can get a few minutes in front of them, but we'll also get in front of Rumpke also. And
I know.
Try to set that up.
I've reached out to Greg Insco, and he's reached out to Rumpke. He asked them if they would attend our board meeting tonight, and obviously they're not here, but it was a last minute thing. He just reached out to them today, so you can't say anything about that.
Right.
Obviously, you know, at least if they would sit down with you and Amy, that would be the first step. At least then you can give us some kind of direction of where they are going with this whole thing. I mean, because at this point, I'm kind of with Pam, it kind of looks like they're doing behind closed doors, and it's not being very transparent. And once again, the school district has done everything that they can to protect the taxpayers over the last 5 years as far as what we've asked from and the levies that we've put up and the way we've conducted business. And we've been making cuts, and we still have to make cuts. And if we take this one, you know, we're really going to be in trouble. So basically, they're going to force our hands into the people that we've been trying to protect, which is taxpayers, where we're going to have no choice to keep our schools open is to ask more money from them. And this is one of the ways that we can keep from doing that. So the taxpayers need to know that this thing that the township are going to put in is costing them money. The township is the taxpayers are going to pay for this, and it's going to reciprocate. It's just going to be a business, and not, you know, the taxes that they're paying are going to be coming services for them. It's just going to be they're giving the money to a business.
And also, I want to remind you that the original TIF that they came and asked us for support on needed board approval. The
Right.
30 years make whole. That
Right.
needed board approval. The extension of a 1990 TIF does not require board approval. There's nothing for you to do. All you're entitled to is to respond to their intention, and you only get 14 days to give them that response.
look,
But they don't need approval, and they can do
it's
this on
obvious
their
they
own.
don't care what we think. It's obvious. Because if they cared what the school board thought and the tax dollars that comes to the school board to educate the kids of our district, they would be here. They wouldn't be doing this and passing this resolution. Oh, well, we're telling you what we're going to do. You got 14 days. They're trying to ram this through before September 29th. I hear what everybody's saying. Bottom line, this is what they're trying to do. and we're losing tax dollars. We're losing money. We're going to lose, over 15 years, we're going to lose $3 million minimum. Who knows? I mean, it could be more than that. And it's just, the taxpayers need to know that the trustees are doing this and they're going to cost it. You know, we passed a bond, $85 million to build new schools and to rehab our other schools. The last two levies, Chris, if I'm not wrong, we lowered taxes. You cannot go to one other school district around here that lowered their taxes in passing a issue. Twice, not once, twice. And this is how we get treated by the township trustees? Oh, well, you know what, we don't want to have to deal with you guys for 30 years. Well, we'll go 15 years and then you don't have a say-so. And all that does is cost us money to educate the kids of our district. I think it's obvious to me. I mean, I hope everybody else sees that, but it's obvious to me they don't care what we think. And it's just, you know.
Well, to me, what's interesting is the state passed the law or passed whatever, so that realizing that what happened before 1994 hurt schools. And so the state actually is doing a good thing by passing a law to say, we're no longer going to let these townships and whatever else do this to the schools. But it goes, any law goes into effect on a certain date. If this is really what the trustees are doing, shame on them for, there's 10 weeks from now to that date. How are we not supposed to feel like they're going to take advantage and ram this through in 10 weeks so we have no say on it? If they really were going to hold us harmless, they wouldn't need to pass this resolution that they didn't even follow anyhow, because they didn't send it to the right person and the right person didn't sign it. So, you know, other than the fact that we as a board need to make sure everybody out there knows it, and it's hard when there's not a lot of people in the audience, but we hope the couple of that are there that you will share this with your neighbors, and we hope, I do know people watch, because I have people make comments to me, but Jenny Key, I had talked to her today. She was coming. She's not afraid to ask the questions. I saw that my phone was going off right as the meeting was started. I don't know, obviously something came up, she's not here. I do know even the nights that she isn't here, she watches this to see. So I think she will be asking the questions too. But yeah, Todd, I think, and I know you will, be pounding on doors. And this is nothing to say we're not grateful for what Rumpke has done for us as a partner. It has nothing to do with that at all. To me, I'm more frustrated with, once again, the lack of our trustees, how they work with us. They don't. They came to us for Kroger because they had to. And other than that, in 20 years, that's about all they've done, other than when they have to. And they found a way not to have to. So, Chris, we haven't heard from you, and I know you usually have an opinion one way or another.
He's also a Green Township resident, and probably
I live in Green Township, so
Well, that'd be all the more reason to be able to voice your opinion.
I originally wrote Mr. Inscope, and before I had all the details, you know, Greenwich emailed it to me. You know, they're sort of to the point, and I said, you know, we had a good partnership with them. I didn't fully understand the millions of dollars. I hid in my head that they gave $300,000 to the Northwest Track, and I said at this point I'd be inclined to, you know, support the tip. And hearing that what Rich has said, and you know, that they're giving us this no time, I think my opinion has probably changed. I do like the partnership with them. I mean, if you go to Colerain High School, you will see their logo on a lot of different things, and they're always good to help out. But, you know, with the state cuts and who knows what the future is going to bring, it's a lot of money. It's over, I mean, even though it's over that many years, it's still a lot of money. And I am a little indignant with the trustees just sort of, you know, we're like some kind of stepchild that, you know, who cares what they think. That's sort of the impression I get. And then I look at Green Township, who, out of the clear blue, donated a track that I walk on probably twice a week, and their involvement with this, when their majority is Oak Hills. So there is a difference. Yeah.
And again, I want to emphasize from my standpoint, I am not talking down about Rumpke. Fully appreciate everything Rumpke has done for this school district for many, many years, and I'm sure many to come. It's the handling of, and for me, how the trustees are handling this, and to tell us we're going to be made whole, and then for this to show up at the 2 different dates with the wrong signature. So
We will do our work. We will have an update for you no later than Thursday, one way or the other. And then you've been given some documents by Amy to look over.
I'd like to hear, I appreciate everything that Rumpke has done for the school district, but I'd like to hear a rationale, if we can get one, for the TIF in the first place. You know, there's a lot of TIFs are usually used for infrastructure, and there's a lot there already. And, you know, it's just a good question that we should probably be asking as well.
I mean, Michael, basically they're taking the money away from educating the kids that we use to educate our kids. You know,
And for that matter, they're, you know, from the township, I mean, township obviously seems to be more favored. They're taking money away from police and fire, too, or for,
Right.
you know, general township
And they
operations.
just-
So, yeah.
I don't get it, and I just,
But, you know, I'd like to hear more information about why the need we have for the TIF in the first place.
Will do. My reminder, Chris, beforehand, Langford, if you're going to Capitol, just let her know.
Okay.
That's it.
at this point of time, it's community comments and questions. You don't have to fill out a card. If there's any questions you have regarding anything that was actually discussed tonight, you can just ask. You don't even have to come up front. So if anybody has any comments or questions.
I did a little bit more looking at like 2.22 to 1 instead of 2 1/4 to 1. You know,
It's close. Within the standard.
the reason why I didn't get a business degree. So.
Anybody else? Okay, before we move into executive session, we will not be taking any action. We'll go to board comments. Chris?
Just for what it's worth, a friend of mine I work with has like a brother-in-law, who's like one of the big shots with Kroger Company. And the story that has been relayed to me is that the Kroger Company, at least at this point, has no plans on pursuing the development and building of the marketplace store. Now, don't hold me to that when they start breaking ground next week, but
Better give me next week.
yeah, or a year. But his contact person helps build and constructed stores as far south as Georgia for Kroger, and so he's sort of in the know. And it's mainly the grocery market is very, very uncertain right now with Amazon getting into it. And there's so many issues that Kroger wants to take the safe route when they do have a profitable store there. So I feel bad for the people, although they probably got top dollar for their homes back there. It's sort of a weird neighborhood to drive through and see 15 houses gone and, you know, the businesses that have left. So I thought I would just share that.
Michael?
I don't have anything to.
I don't have anything.
Bob? I think I said enough. Okay. Do I have a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official? Sorry, Todd, I just read that.
Sorry. So
I'm
moved.
fired up tonight.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions? We will not be taking any action. You're more than welcome to wait, but there'll be no more action. We'll get back. Hey, Chris, call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. We'll move into executive session. Thank you.